Weather for Weather Geeks on this Thursday evening. We're gearing up for the weekend, and some pretty typical July heat will be in the cards for the next several days, with a couple of chances for some thunderstorms returning. We'll talk about all that. Let's start out this evening with a little climate news. Today it was made official that June was, in fact, the hottest June on record globally. Now, of course, this is a look at the whole globe. Locally, our June was not that hot. It was a little on the cool side, but you'll notice how little blue there is across the globe in June. Greenland was kind of cool compared to average. Parts of Eastern Europe, Western Asia, a little on the cool side. And actually, in the United States, around our region, that was some of the coolest weather anyone in the U.S. had compared to average in the month of June. Looking globally, though, a lot more red than blue here. And so, yes, it was the warmest June on record, and July is likely to follow suit. We have an emerging El Nino, of course. El Nino typically warms the atmosphere, and you throw that on top of an already rapidly warming atmosphere thanks to climate change. And anytime you have an El Nino, especially if it's a strong one, you're going to set a lot of records when it comes to global temperatures. All right, back here locally, we had some thunderstorms here and there, especially around and north of I-80 on Wednesday. The rainfall added up to locally an inch to even 2 inches or so in parts of Trumbull and Mercer counties from the Cortland area and right around the fairgrounds. Heading over towards Yankee Lake, Greenville, Fredonia, parts of central Mercer County got pretty close to an inch worth of rain. A lot of this rain fell in areas that have been running some of our bigger long-term deficits in our viewing area. We've done a little bit better over the last month, of course, in areas south and east of Youngstown, but especially in areas north and west of Youngstown, it has been drier than average over the last 30 days. Now, we missed out on the downpours yesterday in one of our drier spots out into western Mahoning County, around Berlin and Craig Beach, Lake Milton area, and then heading back, of course, closer to Kent, Ravenna, and Canton. All those places have been pretty dry for the last few months and have not seen much relief over the last month or so, and a lot of those areas, again, missed out on the rain yesterday. All right. We told you on Weather Geeks on social media and on the newscasts last evening that today's forecast was a tricky call because a lot of the modeling was shoving the thunderstorm activity off to our south, and a little punch of somewhat drier air may save us from many thunderstorms, and that ended up being the right idea. It's been a busy afternoon in parts of West Virginia, southern Ohio, and these heavy storms are making some northward progress this evening, but I'll tell you, there's not going to be much near our viewing area, but could the Pittsburgh area get clipped? Yes. You might see some lightning on the southern horizon the farther south you are this evening in our viewing area. So if you're looking south away from Lisbon, Salineville, East Liverpool especially, over towards Beaver Falls, Elwood City, kind of our southern viewing area, you'll probably see in the distant southern horizon some thunderheads, maybe as nearby as maybe southern Beaver County. We might get grazed by a heavy storm before the evening is through. But these have been prolific lightning producers at times as they've moved around and south of Interstate 70 over the last several hours. There's a pair of severe thunderstorm watches in effect this evening. One up in New England, where they've had, of course, a pretty busy week. The other clips a handful of counties still in southeast Ohio, a couple of counties in southwest PA, and a good chunk of the state of West Virginia still in a severe thunderstorm watch. Now, locally, the big story is, of course, the heat dome that is parked over the southwest. Now, anytime you talk about how hot it is in July, you're going to open yourself up to comments like, duh, it's July. But even by Vegas standards, Phoenix standards, Death Valley standards, the prolonged nature of this kind of extreme heat makes this pretty remarkable and noteworthy and a big story nationally. This heat dome is going to expand eastward some as we go into next week, but it's going to stay out of our area, so it'll get hotter before any relief comes in places like Dallas and Oklahoma City and El Paso and Houston and New Orleans and Birmingham and places like that. But you'll notice our flow here next week primarily still out of the northwest, and that's just going to prevent the high heat from making many northward inroads. Let's focus on Death Valley, California, because this could be a noteworthy weekend. The temperature, let's throw in a couple of pauses here instead of letting this animate. The temperature at this particular station called Furnace Creek, this is basically right in the heart of Death Valley. And if you're unfamiliar with kind of the geography here, real quickly I'll zoom back out. And, we're talking about, no, it's not going to let me zoom back out, but basically California, Nevada. So we're near the Nevada border. This is one of the lowest spots in North America. It's the hottest spot in the U.S., in the summer season, and we could be looking at temperatures at that particular reporting spot this weekend making their way to 126, 127, 128. Now, none of that's record territory, but 130 is kind of the magic number, and the modeling would suggest that Sunday's probably the hottest day out here in Death Valley. And might we see a 128 to 130? It's going to be possible that 130 would be the hottest temperature on record for the U.S. and one of the hottest globally ever measured. All right, back here at home, it's going to be just a typically hot, kind of just off-the-shelf generic July day coming up on Friday. That means a pretty good pool day. Middle and upper 60s at daybreak and heading for the lower 80s at midday and middle 80s in most spots by the end of the day. We've left any rain chances out of our Friday forecast. There might be a renegade shower or a spritz, especially maybe down towards Wheeling, Steubenville. That'd be about it. I think we're dry in the vast majority of the area for our Friday. Now, as we head into the weekend, we have this weather disturbance approaching from the west on Saturday. Vast majority of the morning and even the afternoon should be dry, but as we head towards dinner time Saturday evening, I think our thunderstorm chances will start to increase. Prime time here, maybe 4 to 9 p.m., something like that, the last handful of hours of daylight, for some showers and storms. I don't think this is a big severe weather outbreak or anything like that. Conditions won't be ripe for that. But a feisty thunderstorm or two will be a possibility, and then we should be dry for the second half of the weekend. Today, SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, did, in their Day 3 outlook, include our viewing area in the low end 1 on that 1 to 5 scale, risk for severe weather, in addition to maybe in the strongest storms, some hail and some strong winds. Flash flooding may be a concern. It can be a pretty juicy atmosphere, as you would expect in the middle of July. So things to watch out for, certainly if you have outdoor plans on Saturday that involve being out in late afternoon into the evening. Even if you don't have severe weather, a drenching thunderstorm that's over your location for 10 minutes could really, kind of crimp your style a little bit and make you run indoors, and you don't want that. So make sure you're weather aware if your plans involve the outdoors on Saturday. Temperature-wise, it'll be a hot start to the weekend, 88 Saturday, and a pretty steamy Sunday at 86, with a mostly sunny afternoon coming up on Sunday. But pretty vanilla July stuff here over the next 7 days, with no 90s expected, even though we're going to flirt with 90 perhaps on Saturday. Next week, very comfortable for a few days. I mean, pretty close to average, 81, 82, 83. That's pretty much, what you would expect during mid-July. And that's what we expect Monday right through Thursday. Looks like a largely dry period as well. Once we lose any thunderstorms Monday evening, could be kind of a feisty storm or two Monday afternoon, Monday evening. Then I think we're just mostly sunny for Tuesday and for Wednesday as well. And this is today's 8 to 14 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, showing no heat here locally. Again, pretty vanilla stuff temperature-wise. A lot of days between the 21st and 27th, I suspect, with highs in the upper 70s. Lower 80s, some of the warmer days can be in the mid-80s, but the heat remains centered over the southern U.S. and the western U.S. as well. All right, so we'll have more updates on the weekend forecast and everything else you need to know this evening on 21 News at 11, and we'll see you on Friday evening for a fresh edition of the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast.